Welcome to Electric Vitality Unplug with your health coach, Christina Leo. Join us each week as we explore strategies with antioxidant negative ions to keep our bioelectric body strong, ensuring a vibrant and dignified life well into our golden years. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Today is episode 6 of the Electric Vitality Unplug health series that I aim to bring you some understanding about the benefits of antioxidant negative ions or anions that will be beneficial to our body in various ways. So let me get started with my slide, and we will go straight into our topic for today. This is episode 6, and the focus today is on one of the most important aspects of negative ion, which is it helps us boost our immune system. So in the next 20 to 30 minutes, let me help you understand how negative ion can do that for us. And then let me see, why is my screen not forwarding? Oh, there we go. Okay. General disclaimer, and you can read this in detail, but in general, always seek your own healthcare professionals for your own specific health issues. What we try to share here are general health information that could be useful in you taking that information to help yourself in terms of getting healthier. And just a very little bit about me. Again, you can pause the screen to read more details, but I am a marketing leader at the AGM level with NEFL USA, and I am also a meditation instructor. My goal is always to help people be able to take very simple, easy ways to incorporate into their own health modalities to stay healthy. So my mission is to take what I learn and what I will learn in my pursuit for my PhD in natural medicine to share with you so that you can also be empowered and hopefully continue, live a long and healthy life. That's all what we want, right? So the topic for today is boosting our immune system. So this is a third installment this month, and next week is the last week for August, which we will talk about the autonomic nervous system. So the source of my information come from these wonderful books called We're Anions. The English version is a direct translation from the Chinese version. So I take what I understand from the book and then try to incorporate the knowledge into something that's digestible and understandable for a general audience. So the 4 major health benefit of negative ions, which we have already covered about purifying the blood as well as rejuvenating the cells. And you'll see that the theme actually are all interconnected. So today's focus is on the body's immune system. And we look at how anion or negative ion could actually strengthen our cells and boost our immune system. So our immune system is really a workhorse. It protects us from invaders, whether it's germs, bacteria, virus. So it keeps us staying healthy. And then also, actually, hang on one second. Let me just, okay, this should probably be okay. I actually have 2 captions going at the same time. So I hope that it's not too confusing in the recording. But anyway, so let me just keep going. So our immune system protects us from invaders, as I mentioned. So we need to really take care of it, okay? So the immune system, we can look at it from 2 kind of separate components. One is, the as in the line of defense that makes up the immune system. So the first line of defense is our skin. And the skin just think about it, it covers our entire body, and it's as you can see, it's almost like, it's our protective layer. So anytime that we have a cut on the skin or any kind of opening, right? It leads to the potentiality of, these pathogens or invader from, to come into our body. Okay. So and so along with that first line of defense of the skin, that's why it's important for us to keep our skin really healthy, so that it continues to protect us. But the second line of, well, as part of the first line of defense, okay, is not just the skin, it's actually our mucus secretions. So that, so as I say, any part that has an opening is kind of has the potential for these pathogens to come in. So our eyes has tears, our ears have wax, our nose has snot, right? And then our mouth, we have saliva, and then our reproductive organ as well as our waste removal organ, also secretes, right? All of these is meant to kind of protect us. So that's why it's important for us to recognize that um, these are our first line of defense. So, keeping our body and all the cells in these areas healthy, and then preventing these pathogens from coming in, it's very, very important. And our second line of defense is our gastrointestinal tract. So there's a old Chinese saying that says sickness actually enters from the mouth. And there's so much truth in that. So even if we keep all of the other areas, as clean and as healthy as possible, but what we eat, and, we talked about a lot before about pollution in our food, in our water, and also the air we breathe, right? All those are, coming into our body, and then there's um harmful pollutants in those areas. And then when we take in food that, let's say, is, spoil or has, let's say something like salmonella, right? You take it in, and then your body now has to do the work, and your body's defense system then goes into a hyperdrive to try to alleviate, right? And really kind of get rid of the invaders, right? So I'm going to talk in details about how anions or negative ions. I like to call it anion because there's no negative, in there. So gradually you'll see me start to use the word anion more often than negative ions, because negative, sometimes people may perceive that negative is bad. So anion is actually the official name of negative ion, and cation is actually the official name of positive ion. So anions can strengthen our immunity by several things here. Okay, so it could strengthen our skin cell so that it could function properly for protection. It can enhance what we call cilia movements, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And it can reduce the inflammation by neutralizing harmful effects of free radicals by pathogens on the affected areas. And then it could activate what we call phagocytes and macrophages, right? These are like interesting cells that like gobbles up, okay, the bad stuff that comes in. And then it's very important for us to strengthen our T cell and our B cell in our immune system to increase the antibodies to fight diseases. Okay. So, this is just a kind of like the anatomy of the skin, right? And you can see that there's, there's a lot of things happening below the surface. But what we want to make sure is that the skin, which is just like all parts of our bodies made up of cells, right? So we talk a lot about how the cells needs electrical voltage, it needs proper nutrition, it needs to be able to remove toxins. So when we think about our skin, the skin is the largest organ in our body. So it's very important that we keep all these cells healthy, right? So when we look at the anatomy of the skin, we have to look deeper to say, wow, there's really all these skin cells and we need to make sure that they are strong because they serve as the protectant for us, right? So amnion could actually strengthen the cells in our body on particularly on our skin. There are the glands that are very, very important. So there's the sweat gland, and then there's the gland that secretes like these oily sebums to protect the skin. So this is, you'll see that in my slides, I started using AI generated images. So the color tend to be very vivid and it might not be exactly like, let's say, a true anatomical picture, but I want to make sure that I don't use copyrighted images without without getting proper permission. So you're starting to see that, I basically just ask AI to generate images, but the important things for us to remember is that we don't need to really know the fine details of every single anatomical parts in our body. We just need to know what their functions are and then what we can do to help. Because at the basic core level, we need to look at it from a cell perspective. Okay, our body is made up entirely of cells, right? So we need to keep our cells healthy. So getting back to the sweat gland, which helps our body regulate body temperature and as form of metabolism. So when amnion is it's, let's say our skin is exposed to amnions, right? It helps these cells to be strong. And when they function well, then they would do the job that what the skin is supposed to do. Okay. And then so another part we need to look at is when we have a cut, right? It's that's when we now have exposure to potentially um, allowing invaders to come in. So when we actually have a cut, the electrical current in the wound site actually becomes very disorderly. And this is when negative ion is necessary to kind of heat the core and come and start to supply the electrical voltage to help with the body's natural healing process. So when we cover up with the Band-Aid, right, to prevent further deterioration at the wound site, we're allowing our body to naturally does its job by covering it up because we basically not seal, but actually cover up, the wound to prevent it from getting worse. However, if let's say you have a cut and then you put something that generates amnions in the site, not only does your body's internal amnions is going to kind of heat the core, go to the site and provide the electrical voltage because our body is very intricate. So anytime we have wounds, the body kind of goes into this fight response and say, okay, we all need to take care of this, right? Otherwise, this could become a bigger problem. So when we have open cuts like this, and then let's say, take something that generates negative ion, and then we'll put it onto the area, you actually increase the electrical voltage there. And then I oftentimes, I always wear like the wristband because the wristband, it's a very versatile piece that, this is the neuron fiber that I will talk about in a little bit. But when you put it on, it generates this negative charge, which goes to the wound site and enhances the kind of like the healing process. Okay. So how the amnion actually helps the open wounds is that it, as I mentioned, when we have a cut, the electrical voltage there start to drop to a positive charge. And I would advise you to take a look at my Healing is Voltage. I think it's episode 2, where I talk about how healing requires voltage. Okay. So the anions, when you have the presence of anions, it actually stabilizes the electron structure, neutralizes the free radical in that region and remove. So it basically, by neutralizing and removing the activated oxygen, which is comes in the form of free radical, it allows the healing process to take place faster. So not only does it do that, but it also prevents further deterioration of the wound. And it promotes oxygen and nutrient absorption in that region. So, so it facilitates the wound healing process and enhances, because your cell need to regenerate in that area for it to repair and then remove the injured or dead cells, right? And then by doing that, it allows the wound to start to seal. And so that will prevent secondary infection as well. And interestingly, too, it will actually reduce the formation of scar so that it's not so visible. I remember I had a surgery on my thigh, and then after the surgery, when I was able to remove the stitches, I started using negative ion. Actually, I think it was the leggings, and I was wearing it consistently for months and months and months, and then I realized that my scar, which was a keloid, because it hardened, and it actually start to flatten and then start to lighten the scar. So if you're able to do it before, or when the scar is being formed, then it could help reduce the formation of the scar to be, to be deeper. Okay. So, and then let's talk about this, the effect of anion and the cilia movement. So we talked about our first line of defense was the mucus, right? So the mucus secretion, what it does is, it wraps around, let's say you get, uh, let's say a cold or a flu, right? Usually it comes in either through our mouth or through our nose, right? So our body will go into this defense mode and it's going to secrete mucus. And this mucus secretion, it's going to wrap, okay, around this pathogen that somehow is able to get through into our body, right? And then when it does that, the cilia are these little hair-like structure, okay, in the lung, in the bronchial tube of our lung that moves in these like brushing motion. Now, if you think about it, when things move, what does it require? It requires energy, right? So it's really electrical energy. So when it does this, it moves the mucus, upward into our throat so that we could cough it out, or we could, swallow it when it's not convenient. So the motion of the cilia, it's really, really important because it needs energy for it to move, right? So when you have disorderly electrons in the area, it does affect the cilia movement. So it doesn't move efficiently or effectively. So when you have amnion exposure in the region, right? So it will start to stabilize these electrons, and then now it increases the mobility of the cilia to move. At first, it's like slow, and then it moves faster and faster. And then, so when your body is healthy, these will move in a very good pace. And when it does that, it will prevent these pathogens from even coming in. But then the thing is, you have to make sure that your cilia is functioning properly. And we do have people that put on, let's say, the negative ion neuron scarf, right? By Neffel, they put it on and they would cough a lot in the beginning, but then when they put on the scarf, they cough start to ease, and then they're able to start to get over their cold a little bit faster because the presence of amnion in that region, right, especially around the lung, it allows the lung to work more efficiently. So the cilia will start to kick away the allergen, right? I personally had allergy for many, many years. And when I start using the product, I found that I was starting to sneeze less. I had less issues with let's say the pollens and dust, because my body is just, has become stronger because of the exposure to an abundance of amnions. So that's why the cilia is very important. So let's look at how our immune system actually works, right? So when our body is invaded by bacteria or virus, these kind of cells called phagocytes, right? They're kind of like the Pac-Man. So they engulf and disassemble the bacteria and leaves a mark called antigen. And then so there's four different I'll go through it in a little bit, the T cell and the B cell. So the T cell, there's a T cell called helper T cells, right? So what it does is like, okay, it's starting to try to match the antigen and say, is this something that has invaded my body before? And then when it finds a match, right, it will team up with this, phagocytes, the engulfing, cell, bacteria eating cell, right, to release chemical to kill them, right? And then the B cell is responsible for producing antibodies. So as the pathogen cells start to break down and die, then another one called macrophages could devour the cell as well, the infected cell. So then comes the inhibitor T cells, right? This is the cell that says, okay, enemy has been killed. Let's put a ceasefire on it. We no longer need to continue to keep, dousing the fire because the fire has gone out, right? So, and then the memory T cell, sorry, I had a little typo there. Memory T cell then kind of follows the characteristic of this particular virus into the memory bank. So then next time when it happens again, it kind of goes to the memory bank and say, hey, we've done this before. And, this is how we, take care of this, right? So just in a very simple way, layman's term, trying to explain what our immune system does. So now when we look at how does our immune system actually, um, these cells, how does it help us, right? So as I mentioned, the phagocytes are cells in the immune system that ingest harmful foreign particles, bacteria, virus, dead cells, or dying cells, okay? So as I mentioned in the episode four, I think, when I talked about rejuvenating cells, just think about it, immunocells are cells as well, right? So when you have the presence of amnions, it can activate these cells to do their job better because yeah, so just a reminder. So something like the macrophage, right? Which is the type of white blood cell that engulf and digest pathogens, right? So how does negative ion actually help activate its effectiveness? By increasing its cell permeability, right? When the cell is permeable, it can metabolize and efficiently. And then also there's substances that move in and out of the cell membrane. It will increase that exchange. So all cells have different functions. So we just want to look at what are the basic functions and what enables it to operate well. Okay, so amnion could activate and allow these cells to be very strong. And then let's look at the lymphocytes. I think I might have this misspelled again. As I was telling Bernie, I was trying to learn this and then also trying to put the slide together. So I apologize that this isn't as polished. But the main point is that when we look at these cells, right, the T cells and the B cells, they basically do a few things, which is to recognize invaders. They're going to attack the invaders, and then they're going to destroy the invaders, right? So the T cells has their basic function is to help the B cell to produce antibodies. So the helper T cell works with other phagocytes to fight enemies. The killer T cell immediately attacks the cells infected by the virus. And then the inhibitor T cell, as I mentioned, it prevents the immunocells from overreacting. And then the memory T cell kind of remembers the antigen for the future. And the B cell basically produces antibody to fight against the virus. So these are our army, right? Our army that protects us. So we need to keep them healthy. How do we keep them healthy? Keep their eat good nutritious food, okay, proper waste disposal, right? Waste removal, and then also to which is part of the detox process, and then also increase the voltage, the cell voltage, okay, so that these cells can do their job really, really well. So neuron, which is the negative ion fiber, basically could generate all these high electrical voltage, right? So as I talked about before, when we expose the our body, our electrical body actually needs to be charged. So when we provide ample negative charge, it allows all the 60 to 100 trillion cells in our body to stay healthy. So all of these products, and you could pause in the video, it's primarily meant to provide coverage. And the more the coverage we have, the better, to provide every single cell in our body the voltage that's necessary for it to stay healthy. Okay?